joined by Heather Albrecht, who is this year's and last year's Chairman of Judges for the Awwwards. That's awards with 3 W's. Heather, amongst other things, you've been involved in agencies for a long time, and we thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Oh, pleasure to be here.
Creativity in Australia, from the opinion of a lot of people, has been in a bit of a dark age. Would you agree?
I would use more the analogy of a Renaissance age, if you like. I think we're coming out of a darker period, a confusion with what happened with the dot-coms. I think a lot of people were confused with what happened with internet business models, and the internet as a media channel are really two quite different things, but the two ended up wrapped up in one, if you like. So we've come out of that time of confusion, if you'd like to refer to that as a dark age, and we're into an age of Renaissance. And in fact, I think this year, 2004, is a tipping point for this industry. And we've seen it in terms of spend, 58% spend up over the fiscal last year, so we're 300 million now. So online spend accounting for more than cinema and outdoor combined. That means the whole industry is taking it a lot more seriously. So we've got credibility and momentum behind us at the moment. And with that, then agencies start to pay attention from a creative perspective as well.
Are you seeing that in this year's awards? I think there was some concern by a lot of marketers that there were no awards won at Cannes this year.
Fair enough. It's all relative. What I am seeing in the awards this year in terms of the creative entries is a real step up over last year. It's an evolution, if you like, because this is a very young medium. It was just 10 years ago that the first banner ad actually appeared on Wired.com. And so it's a very new medium that we're still experimenting with. And as I say, the tipping point happening this year, I think we'll see more and more experimentation by the mainstream creative groups in particular, which will make a big change to the whole creative input to the industry.
How many mainstream agencies are represented in the nominations this year?
We had over 120 entries this year, so a significant number up over last year. And I would guesstimate that 80% of those entries were coming from what you would classify as mainstream agencies, because increasingly mainstream agencies do have interactive or online specialists working alongside or within the agency environment.
How important do you think it is for the mainstream agency to have that interactive, creative capability, if you will?
I don't think it's a decision anymore. I think, you know, this business is accounting for 5% of media spend. I don't think you can be an agency and talk about integration, which every agency seems to be these days, and not have that component within your agency.
I guess we see a lot of specialist agencies starting up from web measurement through to components of even a mobile marketing campaign.
Yep.
Do you think perhaps the mainstream agencies are, perhaps even if they are integrated, they're not able to provide full service in the interactive space?
I think that's symptomatic of it being quite a new medium, that there's a lot of experimentation going on in terms of business models and how companies are structured. Now, though, that spend, as I say, is 5%, the agencies can't ignore it anymore. And I think another reason the agencies are starting to take it more seriously, and in fact this year rethinking the whole model where it sits perhaps on the side of the agency rather than really interlinked within the agency, is because we're learning from overseas studies, the cross-media optimization studies, that this is a really powerful medium for branding. And as soon as you say the word brand, you get more attention from agencies. And branding is absolutely core to what they do. So they're starting to understand now that this is a medium that's not just a direct response medium, which is the label it's worn in the past. It does both. It's a hybrid medium. But as soon as they start to understand how powerful it is for branding, they really start to pay attention.
Do you think agencies really do still own the brand, or a lot of that has been taken over by, and I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but a lot of that has been taken over by even the accounting firms who are measuring the assets and the values of an organisation?
That's fair. I mean, the brand has many facets to it, but when it comes to the sort of creative heart of the brand, the personality of the brand values, I still believe that the agencies, along with the marketers, of course, own that territory.
How important do you think their responsibility then is in defining the creative value, if you will, of the brand? And are agencies really stepping up there and staying ahead of their clients in that respect?
Brands overall, or in terms of online branding?
I think both, since they are quite connected these days.
Yes. Are they stepping up to the plate? I think they're starting to step up to the plate from an online perspective. I think the agencies are starting to realize that, in fact, their offline campaigns have to manifest online. And so they're starting to bring more attention and quality control to that because, you know, they realize they have a holistic campaign and not just one that's seen on television anymore.
Are you seeing more corporate identity agencies involved in online campaigns at all? Are they getting involved? Because a lot of them are starting to take greater ownership of the brand too.
I haven't seen much of that yet. Not to say that that can't happen. You know, as a medium that's starting to become more mainstream, eventually everybody is going to be paying attention to it. The PR agencies are starting to pay attention, certainly, to this media. They have to. It's not just from an online advertising perspective. It's just because of the power of consumers to talk to each other and gain information, you know, just a mouse click away about a product or about a company's reputation, that PR firms are starting to pay attention.
You talk about 120 entries this year into the Awwwards.
Yes.
Is that a significant increase over the 2003 entries?
Yep, that's about a 20% increase over last year.
So 58% increase in media spend?
20% increase in the overall interest in the awards or entries into the awards.
How do you think that's impacted on the creativity without giving too much away?
It's a better showing this year creatively. It's a better showing across all the categories of awards because awards have three main objectives, if you like, in terms of recognition. One is around innovation, especially given this is, for the most part, a technology as well as creatively led business. The other is around effectiveness, which is very important for all award shows, I believe. I mean, creative is only as good as its ultimate meeting of objectives. So in all three categories, we're seeing a step up in terms of the caliber of the actual entries. So that's very satisfying.
Do you think that the agencies are still sort of staying relevant to what the marketer needs to achieve? And that's something that you're measuring in the awards. Are you seeing good strategies in
Yes.
the entries?
We're measuring media strategies in particular. I think the one category that gives some indication of our agency staying in touch, if the marketer is after integration, then we have a category called successful offline integration. Hopefully one day that category is going away because the whole word integration becomes redundant. But that's a category in particular this year that I've noticed an improvement in the entries. And so that suggests to me that the agencies are taking integration more seriously, which is one of the things clients are looking for.
The most effective launch of a new product or service, did you see a lot more creativity there? I would imagine that's an area where you really have an opportunity to try new and exciting ideas.
Very much so. The other area where we saw a lot of creativity in terms of just clever thinking was working with a small budget, because this is an interesting media in that certainly clients are spending more on it, up to 5% of their media budgets, which is very important, especially if they have branding objectives. But if you only have a small budget, you don't have to spend 5% of your total budget on online. With just a small budget, you can really make an impact as well. It just comes down to the objectives and the cleverness of the solution.
So that also gives an opportunity to a lot of small marketers, I guess, or
absolutely.
New marketers to get involved in the awards.
And that's one of the things that makes me quite hopeful around the whole area of creativity as we evolve and creativity improving year after year, because you can take a risk online and not have to spend a lot of money, and you can take a risk online and it can be very calculated as well because it is so measurable. So whereas some marketers are loath to take a risk with a TV budget or a TV concept, taking a risk online doesn't have quite the same consequences. So I'm hoping marketers, as we go forward and we have more attention from marketers, which we seem to be getting this year, this tipping point again, that they'll be more willing to do experimentation online in particular. And that may even manifest, you know, in campaigns rolling offline, we do the testing online first.